Hi everyone, Faded Angelos here, coming at you with another video over Diablo 4. If you've been keeping up, you've noticed that I have been playing the beta. I have actually finished getting all classes level 20 plus, so I have pretty good extensive understanding as to how the game is going to perform and play early game. It is a pretty fun game as far as it stands. There are little things, core gameplay that I'm going to go over that kind of I don't feel like is fleshed out very well, and they do need to somehow find a fix for. And there are some things that each class has glaring uh, vulnerabilities or issues that they do need to fix as well. So, really quick, we'll go over the core gameplay things that I think need to change. In regards to the dash ability, every class has this. As you can see, it's the B button if you're playing on controller. This ability does not animation cancel. You are stuck if you're casting anything, you are stuck finishing your ability before you can actually dash. So what that means is that, say you're a sorcerer, you're casting Chain Lightning or another cast spell, and you can queue up the casts for those. So that's also another thing they don't tell you. So you can actually sit there, if you press Chain Lightning 4 times, your character will cast Chain Lightning up to 4 times. There's a little bit of input delay and lag, so it could be because of the server. But I had multiple instances where I was casting on my sorcerer playthrough Chain Lightning, and it would be casting every single input, and then I'd need to dash out, but it would wait until all of my chain lightnings were done or I was out of mana, and then it would process the dash. That is a glaring issue in my part, or in my eyes, because if you think about it, this is an action RPG. This means you need to be moving. You cannot be just standing still. You will take unnecessary damage, especially in later high-end things that you're going to need to require to get out of telegraphs. You need the dash to be responsive. It waiting behind queue time is not okay. It needs to either there you can queue up your spells, but then if you press the dash, it cancels all your queued up spells and immediately has higher priority on your character to activate the dash. Like that's how I think that should work, but that does not in this game. So you're going to be taking a lot of unnecessary damage. It's really just kind of a pain, you know, to have to try to I guess once you get the attack patterns down, it's not going to be that big of an issue, but you will end up taking a lot more damage and dying where you don't or shouldn't have needed to take damage or die. And that was one issue I had. The other issue I had, as far as dashing goes, is there. It felt like there were no iframes during the dash, and this happened and didn't happen quite a few times. So if there was a telegraph for an enemy that knocked you back, and it was like the wraiths, they charge up one of the other ghosts nearby, and that makes a line telegraph that will knock you back. If you tried dashing, you didn't dash out of it, but you dashed still in it, but tried to do an iframe dash to negate the damage, you still got hit by the damage and the knockback. The CC still hits you, the damage still hits you. And there were multiple times where I felt like even if I dashed at the correct time, I still got hit by the damage. So the iframes weren't actually working, if there are any. I strongly believe that it is the dash utility is just to get out of attacks. I didn't feel like there was any iframes, and I don't feel like there's any iframes for that. Um, so the dash just seems like it needs to be looked at and worked on a little bit more. It's definitely not fleshed out as well as it should be. Um, this coming from someone who has played a lot of iframe intensive and dodge intensive game mechanics like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, things like that. Having the ability to dodge in an action game that negates damage because you're skillful enough to time it correctly does help with survivability and mechanics of the game. It just didn't feel like there was any kind of merit to timing your dodges correctly. It felt like it was better for you to just avoid the damage altogether, avoid the attack altogether. I don't know. Like I said, that could be attributed to latency on the servers, or it could be attributed to just latency in general. But it just didn't feel like it was working correctly for me. Another thing that I had an issue with as far as gameplay wise went was the fact that some enemies just seem to be a little overtuned. So, like the elite packs that are surrounded with max HP uh, minions near them, just increased max HP. That's all they had. I felt like they were actually harder to kill than the actual elite themselves, like at least 70% of the time. And I feel like there's more bonuses than they had just for max HP because they shouldn't take that long to die. If their HP pool is just cooler, like, sorry, bigger, there's no reason for them to take 5, 6 minutes for you to kill one of those enemies and everything else just gets melted. Like normal mobs that don't have this increase in HP pool just get melted. It just didn't make sense to me. Um, so that's one thing that I think they're going to have to look at is either the classes, because I didn't have too much of a problem with this on Sorcerer or Necromancer or even Rogue, really. I didn't have this issue too much, but for Druid and Barbarian, because their damage felt like it was a lot lower than the other three classes, it definitely felt like an issue. And as you can see in the background, the shrines in this game are really busted. Like, look at this. The artillery shrine, I'm tearing this thing apart. I literally fight this thing for 10 seconds and it's gone. That's the boss for the dungeon. Like, the artillery shrine and the conduit shrines, I feel like are way, way overtuned. Not saying that I don't enjoy it when I pick them up. I'm saying that when you get them, everything is dead to you for the 15 seconds that you have that power. The conduit shrine is fun. I love the teleportation, the change to it where you can teleport with it. It shocks everything around you when you teleport. I love it. You know, it helps speed through these repetitive dungeons sometimes and breaks up the monotony. The artillery shrine is really amazing, and the fact that different things actually benefit from the shrine. So your hydras actually benefit from it. If you're a sorcerer, every single minion that attacks gets an artillery shot too, as well as you shooting out the artillery. So there's projectiles just flooding your screen. I think that's amazing, cool interaction. However, it doesn't seem like it's too practical. Like it's just, I don't know. It feels like it's just way overtuned and probably should be at least nerfed a little bit as far as having minions have this ability. I could see your character itself having it, but it just feels like it's way too strong to apply to everything. But maybe they'll keep it. If they do, it'll be fun to use when it pops up. Um, so moving on to each one of the classes that I went through, like I said, I had leveled everything to 20 plus, so I have a pretty good understanding as how to play each class. Um, I will start with the lowest, in my opinion, on the totem pole as far as fun and actual damage and just gameplay viability goes, and that's Barbarian. Now, I ended up trying to do Whirlwind. I ended up settling with Reap Barbarian and Thorns. How I got to this is I literally tried multiple different things with it, tried to make it work, and at that point I was just like, you know what? They've got some pretty powerful things as far as getting Thorns going for passives are concerned, so I'm just going to go Thorns. And I did. So I actually had more fun when I transitioned from just trying to do damage to myself to letting the enemies kill themselves than I was doing on my own. Sad to say, but true. So it's Barbarian is just in a terrible spot. It didn't feel like I could do any damage. Reap was amazing for single target because of that bleed, as well as it does a pretty good extensive amount of damage. However, it gets underperformed. It should be more powerful because it is a melee specific class. You have to be up in the enemy's face. You're going to take more damage. It should have more damage available to it. Granted, I didn't use the berserking feature of the class, so that is my own bad. I wasn't utilizing it fully, but I feel like berserking, yeah, it gives you a damage increase and you do get the attack speed, but that felt like it still wouldn't be enough for me to actually do what I needed to do to compare with things like Necromancer or Sorcerer. So Barbarian, unfortunately, it's the very bottom of the five for me. It definitely could use some love and some work on what to expect for the actual game to finish, like the actual retail version of the game to come out. I think that it will, once we see the full set and full selection of legendaries available, it very well could be one of the top contenders, sorry, for being at the top. But right now, with what we have limited available, it definitely is not okay. So if you're unless you're a full-on barbarian melee lover, I would steer clear of it. It's probably not going to be fun for you. The next one I wanted to go through is Druid. Now, I did read on the forums a little bit about other ways to play Druid, and it did seem like other people were having issues with the elemental play style of Druid, and it wasn't powerful enough. It felt like it was lackluster. I've actually had all the aspects I could possibly have for werewolf, and it looked fun, so I went full werewolf with Druid. It was an experience. There were highs and there were lows. I felt like there was a lot of times when I would reach a certain point leveling and I would feel like my damage dropped off, but then it would spike up again. And it very well could be from me alternating through gear and, equipping something new, my damage would go up. But it just felt like after a certain point, the highs and lows stopped and it actually just started getting lower. Like my damage was not enough. That was unfortunate. I was having a lot of fun with Werewolf Druid. It didn't feel like it was doing it for me. Granted, Werewolf Druid has so much sustain. It is amazing. Like you Blood Howl is amazing. 20% of your health every 15 seconds, and that actually goes down. The cooldown goes down per kill. So you can just keep healing yourself with Blood Howl, not having to pop your potions. Amazing. Its survivability is really high tier. It's just the damage just felt like it wasn't there. I went like poisonous werewolf, so I chose the skills like shred and the basic attack to put poison on enemies. I chose all of that. It just felt like it wasn't enough. It wasn't doing enough. So Druid just I was expecting more out of it. It ended up not being as fun as I wanted, and that's unfortunate. Um, Werebear did look fun. It looks like a more tankier version than Werewolf. Um, doesn't have the sustain, obviously, but you could still grab Blood Howl if you really wanted to keep yourself alive. In Werebear, you just switch back to Werebear. Um, you didn't have enough points to actually go into the passives for shape shifting between the two forums and stuff like that. That I found was a little disappointing. You weren't able to actually fully spec into that, so I wasn't able to, put points into passives to make werewolf stronger and things like that. That I felt a little sad about, but it is a beta. We can only get to level 25, and I did already have the +2 skill points from uh, exploring everything universally on my account. So I had as many skill points as I was possibly going to get on the beta, and it felt like it wasn't enough. The next one on my list for tiers of playability, I'd have to say is Rogue. Rogue definitely was a lot of fun. I used Barrage Rogue with Poison Trap and Caltraps. And my tactic and my thoughts behind my setup was that I would throw down a poison trap, then throw caltraps around the poison trap to slow them down and keep them into the poison as long as possible, while then slamming them with barrage. That was a lot of fun. I ended up using Ice Imbue so that way I could get more CC and slow on them and potentially freeze them in the poison trap. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of synergy there, and then I ended up specking the poison trap to have an actual like rope trigger, so that way it would knock down any enemies that triggered the trap, so they would be stuck in the poison longer. There any boss that actually takes a second to spawn in, there is a way to abuse Poison Trap, which I don't know if they're going to look into changing this or not. If you have a long respawn or you're waiting for the respawn of the monster and there's maybe dialogue going on or delay, this happened like once, I think, on a boss. I was able to place down like 2 or 3 poison traps down for the boss before it popped up, and then it its HP melted. Like it had so much damage done to it I laughed. It was a lot of fun. Granted, my problem with Rogue is that if you're using an ability like Caltrops, you actually do get multiple charges of Caltrops, but it's an animation lock, which means that when you use Caltrops, you're stuck with the animation of jumping backwards and throwing it down. If you happen to press Caltrops again or multiple times just by accident, you will be stuck doing it twice. So that means you can't dash, you can't do anything. You have to wait for your animation to finish with Caltrops before you're able to do anything. So if you're stuck in let's say there's a column AoE, like this is the boss right here. I think this is the one where I placed down a bunch of traps for my rogue, and then this guy's HP melted for this quest because he took so long to spawn in, and I knew exactly where he was going to spawn because I had completed this quest many times. His HP just completely deleted on my rogue. But back to the Caltrap. Sorry, I just wanted to give an example. That is an issue. Like that's I then again I can get why this animation is locked because it would be kind of realistically hard for you to cancel jumping backwards. Like okay, I'll give you that Blizzard, but like the other things where you couldn't animation cancel, I'm not buying it. The next one on my list, as far as level up, probably in place two, is Sorcerer. Um, this was a lot of fun. This character, I went full electricity in the beginning, and it was. I had such a cakewalk just running through the beginning of the game. I'd cast chain lightning, everything died around me. I didn't have to do anything, just kept walking. Like and I'd use the basic skill for electricity as well. I'd also was focusing on getting the energy balls. I forgot what they're called. It's been a while since I played it. But those energy charges that you get that gives you AoE shock around you automatically. I was focusing on getting that and using the Conjuration Lightning Spear ability wherever you pick up 5 of those conduits, then you get 100% bonus damage on your lightning spear, and your lightning spear just homes around and hits everything around you too. So I was running just full electricity with it until I got a unique that allowed me to have a bonus Hydra. Then I realized how broken Hydra was. That was insane. Having 2 Hydras out in the field and they'd have 4 heads, so it's 4 projectiles shooting out. When you have an artillery shrine with that, there are so many projectiles flying around your screen. It is ridiculous. It was a lot of fun. I definitely was hoping there'd be more uniques to use or legendaries to use for Hydras on here to kind of stack them and see what kind of interactions would be there. I definitely would look into doing a Hydra character for when the game releases, due to how well that played for me in the beta. I definitely would just if I get one of those legendaries, that'll probably be another tune I make. It is was a lot of fun. There's also a lot of mobility with teleport on top of your dashes, so you can avoid a lot of damage there. Again, my issue was there no animation canceling. You're stuck in completing whatever animation inputs you put in and that are queued, which really sucks. So for like I said, for an action RPG game, that can be really, really bad. So moving on to the top tier, the one that I think everybody who likes being powerful is going to play. I hope not. I hope they take a different approach to or Blizzard, as in they take a different approach to balancing the game, kind of like what Torchlight Infinite said they were going to do, and that is instead of nerfing things that are overperforming, maybe bring other things that are underperforming to their level so that way there's more diversity. So people don't have to feel like Necromancer is the way to go immediately when you start, because if you don't, you're kind of dumb. Like, Necromancer was so smooth for me. In like 5 hours, I got it to 25, no deaths. It was just smooth experience all the way through. I was even doing strongholds at level 22 that were level 26 without even having to break a sweat. It was easy, but it was fun. But I like minion builds, so I kind of spec'd it into being a bone minion build. So I used Bone Scatter and Bone Lance uh, as my two abilities, and then I would just have minions out for the rest of them. So right now you only see me at the Skeleton Warriors. Eventually I changed them to Reaper because I was getting more corpses off the Reapers, and I loved the synergy they had with minions generating corpses for Necro. That was really nice because I was running actually Corpse Explosion and having the Corpse Explosion create puddles on the ground for dots. And if multiple puddles actually overlapped and the enemy was inside multiple ones, all of those dots would combine. So it was just so nice. As you can see here, I've just unlocked my blighted corpse explosions. So now I just throw those fields down, everything's dying that runs through the field, and I just pick up the items I need for the quest. This was a lot of fun. I do like the fact that you had multiple different types of minions for this, and it caters to your playstyle, or you can choose no minions and have a buff. But I definitely feel like having minions there is going to be better than choosing no minions. That's just how I feel about it. It doesn't feel like any of the notables are strong enough to take up the fact that you could have 5 soldiers on the field, or I think it's like critical hit damage increase or critical hit rate increase. Like I feel like gonna that's not gonna pan out. Either way, I think Necro is actually at the top of the tier, which I'm sure I'm not alone in this uh, assessment. Necro was a lot of fun. It was really a blast to just power through everything. My only issue with it is that it does seem like it's overtuned, so I hope that they bring up the other classes to make it more of a competition for it. Especially Barbarian needs some love, Blizzard. I'm sorry to tell you, you did Barbarian dirty. You gotta do something to bring it up to par. But anyways, that's my impressions and the issues that I found in the beta that I played. Uh, if you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I really hope I catch you all in the next one. And you guys take care. Thank you for watching.